Welcome to the D3 podcast. I'm your host, the one, the only, Sam and himself, with of course my guy, the GOAT, greatest O'Brien all time. KLB, what is good, my guy?
Live and in person for the first time in over a year.
Yeah, since
I'll
hey. Chicago Bulls gained the seventh pick again. Is that what happened? Anyway, let's stop with that nonsense. Let's get into a good episode. As you can tell, Brothers Murphy are not here because they'll deserve to be here. That's right. Exactly. Let's get into the news. I think the biggest one: Pistons won the lottery. I don't even know if that's a congratulations, Kevin. I mean, is this good, bad? Like, who actually won this? Like, is it the Pistons win? Cade win? Who's winning?
Cade did not win. Cade doesn't win regardless, because regardless, he was gonna be the first pick. He was gonna be for a garbage team, whether it was the Pistons or the Cavs, and it turned out to be the Pistons. So good for them. They got obviously a great rookie. I think we'll be interested to see how he actually performs, but I think everything we've seen from him is phenomenal. So we're really interested to see if he can help the Pistons, because it was rough this year for them. It was rough.
Agreed. I mean, I think it was good just knowing that you can let go of Blake Griffin's contract. And they bought him out, so I didn't really let go of him. Reggie Jackson's gone. I mean, you talk about Jeremy Grant, who had one of the best seasons of his career. I don't know how much that can translate into the next phase of his career, but Detroit has said that they are open to trading the pick in case it could get something. And I think there'd be a lot of teams interested.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for more assets or for a legit potential all-star moving forward. But I'll run through the lottery as of now. So Detroit with the first, Houston second, Cleveland third. Toronto got the fourth. They snuck in, which was kind of surprising. It was crazy. Orlando with the fifth. OKC with the sixth, and I think that was a big disappointment just with the amount of draft picks they have. I think they're hoping they can move up forward. And I think they could. I think with the amount of picks they have, they will probably definitely be a top three by the draft. Golden State got Minnesota's pick because it fell out of the top four. Orlando got Chicago's pick, also a couple out of the top four. Rough times. Really good for Orlando. Sacramento, New Orleans, Charlotte, my boy San Antonio, the Pacers, and the Golden State Warriors as well. Just looking at the top 14, what is something that stuck out for you, like being a key piece or something that's not going to be as beneficial?
I think, honestly, I think Golden State can do a lot with their two picks in the top 14. I think even though it's the seventh pick for their first one, so that's a little later, you're not going to have that Cade Cunningham talent, but having two in the top 14 is going to be big for them, especially with, Steph's getting old. Draymond's old. Clay is injury prone. So they really need to start building up that pool of talent that they got. And we saw this year that their bench was a lot better this year and a little more fleshed out than it was last year, because last year was a little rough. But I really think they want to get some younger guys in here to learn from Steph and Draymond while they can. So, like James Wiseman, I think he could be really good and has a lot of great people to learn from. So,
no, I think that's true. I actually think James Wiseman could be a great trade piece for Golden State now moving forward. I think there's been rumors of him going to the Wizards. Maybe that's a good start for him to be with like a Westbrook. He's still part of the future, but to get Bradley Beal as another scorer for them, I think would be a big piece. We saw this Warriors team just be purely dependent on Steph Curry scoring. I think for me, the most disappointing thing is just Minnesota not existing in all of this because of D'Angelo Russell's situation. And I don't even know who to blame at this point. I don't know if it's Gerson Rosas, who's the GM, VP of Operations. I don't know if it's just a team thing. Like, is Carl Towns, is he meant to be here? I don't know. I really don't know if this is his place. And I know there's a lot of rumors about maybe they're the team that moves to Seattle or they just move somewhere else. But with that, let's move forward to other big news. Rick Carlisle from the Mavericks signed with the Pacers as part of a reunion. I know he was back there, I think, 2004, 2005. And it was Kind of shocking. I know he left with with Luka Doncic. It was kind of shocking for them to just to separate because with star talent like Luka Doncic, who would want to leave, right? And it's a perfect gig.
Yeah.
Maybe it was too much pressure. Maybe it just wasn't working out. Some internal things as well. But what are your thoughts on him signing 4 years, $29 million, going back to the Pacers?
I wish we could know a little bit more about what was going on behind the scenes because I think it was. I mean, it's not completely out of the blue that he leaves. He was clearly sick of something in that organization, but I would like to hear his opinion on it. But I don't think that's going to happen. But that being said, I think he would be a good coach for that Pacers team. I think he is kind of that old classic style coach, kind of like Pop, where he's very fundamental basketball, not totally in on the new wave of style of play yet. But I think that fits for the Pacers team. I think that Pacers team is very classic, defensive, grit and grind basketball, and I think he is a perfect fit for that type of squad.
I guess because we know Rick Carl's repertoire, he has won a title with the Mavericks. He's coached Nowitzki, Jason Kidd as well, Luka Doncic. Do we think that he's able to elevate this Pacers team, or do we think it's still going to be a very average team in the long run?
I think at the end of the day, coaches can bring out the best in players, but they can't make players better than what they are in general. So I think I don't see him going to the Pacers changing the Pacers from where they are now to a top seed. I don't think that's going to happen without a big trade or a big new player on their team.
Yeah.
I think he will help them. I think they'll get up to a little bit of a higher seed, but they're not going to jump to, again, the first or second seed.
Yeah, I think we know that this team can be good. Obviously with Nate Bjorken as the coach before, obviously big fallout. I didn't really trust him.
Yeah.
I think someone with experience and knows the game very well. I think there's a lot more trust, coming into this. And I don't know. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of uncertainty with how this team will perform moving forward. But I think it only gets better just knowing that there is a good coach on your roster. I bet the one thing is they're definitely going to regret missing Nate McMillan now.
Yeah.
Hawks opponent. Speaking of the Mavericks as well, it was weird because he endorsed Jason Kidd, saying that he could be a perfect fit with Luka Doncic in his iPhone notes. Really weird, very odd. And he's going to be the next Mavericks coach. They signed Nike executive Nico Harrison as their GM, and with all this signing, drama going on, seems like Porzingis was onto something, and maybe he was part of the drama as well. Do you think that there's high hopes with Dallas moving forward in the next few years?
I think it's similar to the Celtics in that I feel like these are all high risk, high reward moves. I think it's unlikely that Jason Kidd will be the piece that brings the Mavs up to greatness again. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I think there is a slim chance that he could be aggressive enough to kind of whip these guys in shape a little bit. I could be wrong in that, but I think, again, we're talking a 5 to 10% chance, 90% chance that he is not a good coach for that team. I think with the GM, I think, again, it's like hiring Brad Stevens. You don't know what you're going to get exactly, and you're just really hoping that it's going to be a long-term investment and then going to grow in that spot and be really good. And if they are, I think that would be great. I think that's the one spot where Dallas could use some help, is that GM spot, because we've seen, obviously it was a great choice to get Luka, but at the end of the day, Luka isn't enough for that team, as we've seen the past couple of years. They need to make some moves, and they haven't been doing that correctly yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they need some sort of change in the management to make better decisions. So hopefully they're on the up and up, but we'll see.
I agree. I mean, I think Rick Carlisle did have a relationship with the GM, previous GM, Diane Nelson. Obviously, I think when he didn't just walk away, he was fired, and it was like a lot of tension in the room. You know, it's bad because you're such great star talent with Luka Doncic, but at the same time, you do have your next best player is Tim Hardaway Jr., who we think is good. He was good in the playoffs, but I don't think he's someone that can rely on consistently. Maybe it's a turning point for him, but I think after we've seen through his career, it has not been. You wouldn't say that's your next star.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say it's your second star of the team, but that is what this team is as of right now. So, as a Spurs fan, I like the turmoil. I like a Jason Kidd being in the mix because I know he's not a good coach. I know one of his greatest moves, because now it's being used by a lot of coaches now, is when he's drinking his cup and he said, "Hit me," and he spilled his drink everywhere. And now coaches are basically doing that with a challenge. They just say, "Oh, like review the call," and then get some free timeout. So shout out to Jason Kidd for starting that kind of movement. But other big news, it looks like Chauncey Billups. I don't know if you're familiar with Chauncey Billups, but Chauncey Billups most likely will be the Trailblazers head coach. I know there's a lot of tension. I know just recently there's rumors of Damian Lillard just upset that he wasn't really in the head coaching discussion, and there's a lot of backlash. You know, when he was like, "Hey, Jason Kidd should be in this," and it seemed like Portland said that, "Hey, that's okay. You know, we're going to pick our way." Do you think with Chauncey Billups, who he was insistent with the Clippers this season, do you think that's enough to keep Damian Lillard?
I don't think so. But I don't discredit what Portland did with that. I think it's fair for that organization to basically say, like, okay, yeah, we appreciate your input as Damian Lillard, the face of our franchise, basically. We appreciate that, but at the end of the day, it's our decision. It's not your decision.
Yeah.
But that could have some adverse effects on James' motivation, and he might want to dip out. He might want to go for a team that actually can win. So I don't know. I'm also interested to see if Chauncey Billups, how he is as a head coach. I don't know. I think, again, there's a lot of big question marks with that franchise, especially. And I don't know if they're making the right moves to improve that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that it's time to break up this backcourt with CJ and Dame. I don't know if that is the right move. I think it's maybe getting actual better pieces to support them. You do have a Nurkic, I think is actually okay as a center. Did not help in the playoffs because it reminds me of Rudy Gobert. He's just not like he's getting foul trouble. Like he fouled,
exactly.
We saw a lot of games. He fouled out against Denver.
Yep.
I think 3 of the 6, which is, I mean, that's pretty crazy. But you know, there's rumors of CJ McCollum, Ben Simmons trade. You know, adding more defenses. I think they're like the 25th best defense.
Yeah.
Maybe that could have been the issue at this point. Or you know, I've seen CJ McCollum to the Celtics, maybe just to get more pieces for Portland to just build an actual roster. But we'll have to see. I mean, I don't know if this is what will. You know, I think it would be awesome for Damian Lillard to stay in Portland. You're a Portland fan, but I mean, obviously, you want this guy to be a winner moving forward. There's some small news. I know Magic did interview Penny Hardaway, obviously former Magic great, currently coaching for the University of Memphis, which is his alma mater as well. I think we're seeing the trend as 2 things. I think they're getting a lot more, black coaches involved, which I think is really cool to see, as well as getting more player coaches as well. We're seeing that kind of mix happen, or getting more vets. Because I think people are understanding that the rookie, not NBA player, it has not been panning out for a lot of teams. And I think maybe this is a new turning point for a lot of players. Bigger news: Ime Udoka, former Spurs coach, former player of there, former player of Portland, former coach with 76ers, and former associate head coach with the Brooklyn Nets, is now the head coach for the Boston Celtics. I know he was really favored by a lot of players: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. They said openly that we want this guy because I think he was there coaching that under 25 team that got 7th place. He was there coaching them, so I think they really appreciate what he can do. I think we know from a coach standpoint, I think we know he can do this, but what is another missing piece that the Celtics, obviously they get to the conference finals or they get right below it and they can't get past it, that hump. What do you think is the next piece?
I think a coach is obviously a big step, but I think it's always been, for the past couple of years at least, is they haven't had a solid big man that they can rally around, that can get clutch rebounds, get clutch blocks, stuff like that. Like stuff we're seeing from DeAndre Ayton in this playoff series, you know?
Exactly.
Like I think he is a perfect example of what would make the Celtics unbelievable. Like I really think if they had someone like that, they would be a top seed, but obviously that's unrealistic. Like they're not going to get someone like that right away. So they have to at least try and make steps in the right direction. I don't think getting Al Horford is a step in the right direction. But maybe Moses Brown is. I mean, he obviously has some potential. He could be good. I think he's a little young right now. We just haven't seen enough of him yet. So hopefully that could be good. But yeah, I think that's their biggest missing piece right now. Because I think obviously Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were great. Marcus Smart is an awesome defender. I think they have a lot of good pieces. They're just, it feels like they're always one step away, like one step behind the really good teams. So
that's true. And I think along those lines, they went from one center from last season, Robert Williams, to three now. It's a little bit deeper there. Like you said, I think they need some sort of shakeup. I don't know if Marcus Smart is the piece that they need there. Maybe there's a lot of teams that could use him, like the Warriors, maybe Sam West. A lot of teams could utilize him better. But we'll have to see. I know a lot of drama in Philly now for the big loss to the Hawks. Hawks in 6, all I gotta say. But obviously, lots of smack talk with Ben Simmons. You know, it's when Doc Rivers gets asked a question that is, you know, Ben Simmons capable of being a point guard for a championship team, he said, I don't know. You know, that made it seem like a very, like, I can't trust you anymore kind of feeling. I mean, even Joel Embiid said that when he didn't go for the open dunk or open layup and he just dished it out, that was the turning point for us. So it seemed like direct blame at this point. You know, his agent, he signed with Clutch, which is LeBron's program with his friends. Rich Paul, he talked with Elton Brand, see what the future is. His high school coach said that it's definitely just a mental thing, you know, just being phased out of it. And it's definitely fixed. You can't fix it, but it's obviously going to take more time, actually, more care to actually do it. Just in general, what do you think Ben Simmons' future is in the NBA?
I don't know. I think unfortunately, he's scapegoat for that team. I think, yeah, he didn't do as good as he could have, but at the same time, like, he's known for being a defensive player, not known for, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but, like, he's not the guy you want to taking jumpers all the time. He's not the guy you want to rely on for scoring. Yeah, he can score a lot better than he did during this playoff series, but I think he's getting a lot more hate than he deserves a little bit. I think because that Sixers team is just so frustrated having another loss in the playoffs and just being so close to the finals and just missing it again. And I think Ben Simmons is an easy person to point to and be like, no, he screwed it up. It was his fault, blah, blah, blah. But that being said, I think he would be a great addition to a lot of teams. Like we were saying, Portland. I think he'd be an awesome addition at Portland as a defensive player. They have an amazing backcourt in CJ and Dane. And so I think they could use that defensive side of things. I think Ben Simmons would be a great addition. I think he could add a lot to a lot of different teams, and he's just, I think he was relied on a little, where people expected more scoring out of him than he could give, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame just because of how Jimmy's 6 years track record has been. Kind of been disappointing the last few years when they had really good teams. Especially the year they had Jimmy Butler, and then not to sign him again, to keep it Tobias Harris. I couldn't even imagine what went wrong there. Huge mistake. I mean, we saw how Jimmy can do. We saw doing with the Miami Heat. It'd be worse. Like you lost, Markelle Fultz. You trade up to get Markelle Fultz. You could have got Jason Tatum, but you could have got Jason Tatum in that draft. Could have got Alonzo Ball. Could have got an actual point guard at this point.
Yeah, hate to. Hindsight's the worst in the NBA. I feel like with the draft.
And obviously, everyone drafted Ben Simmons with the potential that he has. I think he still has it. We can't just write him off. I think he's like 24, 25. I mean, like, you really can't write this guy off. Just with so much potential. And I know that he openly said that he's going to go, like, full reset, getting to work into the gym. But I do agree. I think he needs a restart somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be the guy somewhere else. He's not the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Joel Embiid is the face of the organization. And we're seeing that the 76ers will always be a process. It will never be finished.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
I think it's the worst nickname that we'll ever have in the rest of history, because you'll never know if the process is actually good or not. Just some quick shout-outs. Diana Taurasi, obviously WNBA GOAT, 9,000 points. First person ever in WNBA history to get that. Great achievement. She's actually getting her first shoe collaboration with LeBron's shoe, which is a big move.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking forward to see that. Spencer Dinwiddie obviously opted out to become an unrestricted free agent. And I think he's going to get the bag, even though he had ACL injury. I think someone's going to pay quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing Lakers. Do you think that could be a missing piece in not having like a true point guard?
I think that would be awesome. I think Dinwiddie obviously wants to be a starter and a main part of a team. And I think on the Lakers he could be that part because I think they've always been looking for that like good point guard that they can rely on. I think Caruso is obviously good, but he's a good six-man kind of guy. He's not really a fully fleshed out starter yet. And I think Dinwiddie could be that fit if he goes there. I think that's a big if, but we'll see. I also don't know if the Lakers have the money to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's got Space Jam too. He got the bag.
That's true. That's true.
But speaking of more ifs, right before we get into the playoffs, this USA basketball roster was kind of released just a couple days ago. I run through the list, and you give me your thoughts on what it is. Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, Kevin Love, Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Jeremy Grant. I'm just going to be honest, what is wrong with this list first?
Kevin Love.
Okay. So we're on the same basis. What makes him so wrong with this list?
I mean, if it was Kevin Love from 10 years ago, done. Bet. For sure. 100%. Kevin Love in 2021, I think he's up there as like a washed king with Blake Griffin. Do we see Blake Griffin on this list? No. That's tough.
Yeah. I mean, like, think of the names, and I don't know if they said no or not. Trae Young's on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young's on the list. I did not hear anything about Trae Young not saying no or anything like that. I think he would be a great addition. I think he'd be the perfect icon for it.
Yeah.
This Julius Randle, and most improved player. I'm not sure why he's not here. But you have players like Kevin Love. I know Jalen Rose came out and very interesting statement about how frustrating it was for the U.S. roster not to send an all-black team because they basically added a white guy on the bench. Is what they're basically saying. In a way, they did. I don't think Kevin Love had a very disappointing season. I think just the mental attitude he showed, like just throwing the ball out of bounds, just getting frustrated with the team. I just think that shows like the wrong character in terms of being a USA basketball member.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the list overall? Let's exclude those Kevin Loves and Jeremy Grant. What do you think overall?
I like it a lot because I think it has those all-stars. It has the KD. It has the Chris Middleton. It has like people like that. But it also has defensive guys like Jeremy Grant, Drew Holiday, Bam, Draymond, like who maybe weren't all-stars in terms of like points and things like that, but who are really, really, really good at defense. And then it has the Devin Booker, the Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, like who are just purely offensive guys. So I think it's actually like a fairly well-balanced roster, and I do like it. I think it's got a bunch of different types of players too. I think a bunch of different ages. I think I like the, for lack of a better term, diversity of the players, not in like the literal sense, but like in how they play and their play style. You know what I mean?
Never thought I'd hear diversity add a white guy to the group, but I'm just saying. No, but I agree. That's a good point. It's very interesting to see that they all went small. Only center they have is Bam. They're completely playing small, but I think they're like on average like 6'8" is the height. I'm guessing.
So you're saying Kevin Durant is small?
Kevin Durant is 6'11", so you're right. But that'd be interesting to see if Kevin Durant can play center, because that could be a moving piece with the Nets going forward as well. But I mean, I didn't see a Brandon Ingram in discussion. Like, I don't know. I just felt like, no, wait, I don't know anything. Okay.
After this season, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, Kevin Love.
Fair.
I'm just saying.
What about Zion?
Zion, I think with the injury to his hand.
Oh, okay.
I think everyone's just like, don't you even think about it. Like, obviously, it would be the thing. But they're like, don't even think about it.
Adam Silver called someone up and was like, hey, he is not playing anything outside of a regulated game.
I mean, there's no John Moran. I think it's very guard heavy, I think, for the most part. I think the only one I would say was like questionable is like Drew Holiday, but even then, I think it's still fair. I think it's a great selection overall. But let's get to the real thing. NBA playoffs. From our last discussion, it was Hawks 76ers. And based off our Ben Simmons talk, it's just the Hawks now. We're going Hawks, Bucks, Suns, and Clippers. Hawks are currently tied with the Bucks 1-1. Game 3 is tonight on Sunday. By the time this is released, we'll know the end result. Yeah. From watching all this, do we feel like Trae Young's just been destined for the playoffs? I mean, he has that. I think he has what we like is that there's someone to hate, and he always shows us up.
He's that. I feel like he would have been so good in the 90s. Like he's that trash talker, that classic. Like he truly wants to win, and when he does, he's like, "Fuck you! I did it. I'm the best." It's almost that Michael Jordan mentality, and I feel like we don't see that often anymore. Like it's like you always get on a soapbox about like, oh, you hate seeing people trade jerseys all the time and like stuff like that. I feel like Trae is the antithesis of that. He's like, hey, I'm gonna come into New York at Madison Square Garden, and I'm gonna beat the Knicks, and I'm gonna roast them, and everyone's gonna not believe that I can do it, and he did it. And he's continued to do it throughout this entire playoffs. Like, I am beyond impressed with what he's done, and that whole Hawks team.
No, I agree. I mean, even game 1, 116, 113 against the Bucks, they're 48, 11, and 7. That's ridiculous. Double, 48 points. Obviously, the bash is that you can't play defense, right? We hear that from our other co-hosts. You can't play defense. All I gotta say is the number 1 pick and the number 3 pick, they're in it. Who's not in it? Who's not in the playoffs right now?
I think it's Luka.
Agreed. Luka Doncic, Marvin Bagley. I guess Marvin Bagley too. Apparently, I saw a tweet. He liked a tweet saying that he needs to leave Sacramento. I don't think anywhere you go will be helpful. So I just retire at this point on him. But I mean, like, obviously with the Bogdanovic, our boy Bogey, injured, obviously not putting up great production. But I think I'm really surprised is John Collins. I think he's going to get a big bag. He's going to get a huge bag this offseason because he's playing like there's no tomorrow. I mean, Kevin Huerter, like,
out of nowhere has been popping.
Yeah, they're calling him Red Mamba because of how it is. And his teammates call him Kayvon.
I love that.
I love that. I think there's a real, there's a real glue like with this team, and you wouldn't think about this. The way how they started the season, then I look at their coach, and Nate McMillan was just like through the roof. This team is now the 4th seed, and winning games away on the road. They had that composure, and I think it's genuinely impressive. On the Bucks side, obviously we saw Game 7 beating the Nets. Crazy overtime victory. The thing we can't question is obviously Giannis's performance, but seeing everyone else kind of just falling in. We're seeing Drew Holiday starting to perform 33 points game 1, very unreal. Something that we were missing most of the series, but he could not stay with Trae Young. Like Trae Young really gets past every good defender, Ben Simmons, and he's doing it to Drew Holiday. So I really don't think he is guardable in a lot of senses.
All you gotta say is that was true for game 1, and then Drew Holiday came out game 2 and was like, "Yo, Trae, you're not gonna embarrass me like that again." Trae Young got held to 15 points. He really got shut down, I feel like, by Drew. Drew scored 22 that game too, so I feel like it's gonna be a lot of back and forth this whole series. And I think I'm was excited to see Drew come back in game 2 and clearly fix his mistakes that he made in game 1. I think that really shows like championship effort, honestly. And I think we haven't seen that from a lot of teams, and that's a lot of teams' flaws sometimes and why they don't make it far in the playoffs.
I do like to give a shout out to our boy PJ Tucker. 1 point last game. That victory. What a performance by PJ Tucker. Taking only 1 shot. It was a corner 3. And the city's like, we done for the series. But it's interesting to see how the series will go moving forward because I feel it's weird to say, but it's oddly balanced. I think the Atlanta Hawks have a very deep bench compared to what the Bucks have. And we're not even seeing it for a while. They don't have DeAndre Hunter, who's been playing phenomenal the whole season. He got injured. Cam Reddish, offensively poor, but defensive presence is really good. But we're starting to see everyone else. Okongwu missed most of the season. That was the number 1 pick or first round pick this year. Solomon Hill popping off. He played really well with the Pelicans as well. And Gallo. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this team. There's no bad person on this team.
I think one of the big things too for that team is just the starting 5 chemistry together is probably the best balanced starting 5 in the playoffs right now. I think every single person in that starting 5 can score. They can get assists. They can. I'm not going to say they can play defense because they can't. And they have 3 guys that can get boards regularly, and I think that's huge. I think they're very well balanced and have a lot of potential. So I'm excited to see the rest of the series.
No, I agree. I mean, it's just fun watching how these guys perform, and it's almost to a whole different level. Like we really didn't see that the Hawks could get to this level.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's get our predictions. Game 3, it's in Atlanta. Who do you have winning it?
I think when you're in Atlanta, the Hawks want to come back and throw some punches. So I think Atlanta's going to take Game 3.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I think the Hawks have a different vibe when they're in Atlanta and when they're at home, and they're a very young team, so they're very boosted by all this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I think the Hawks will take it in Game 3. Who wins the series though?
I don't know. I think the Bucks can take it in Game 7 again. I really do. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be really a fight to the end with both of these teams. And I think it's going to go to minimum Game 6. I don't think the Hawks are just going to sweep them out, or the Bucks are going to sweep after tonight or anything like that. I think it's going to be 6, most likely Game 7.
Okay. I'm gonna go the other way. I think the Atlanta Hawks are really just making a point. I think they have the composure to be that team. So I'm gonna say Hawks in 7. I think they can actually pull it away. They did it in Philly. I mean, they did it to Philly. They did it to the Knicks.
Yeah.
They're shutting out people. So I will be genuinely impressed by how the Hawks perform. Let's get into the West now. All right. Suns, Clippers. We discussed Game 1. Game 2, the classic Valley Oop. Performed 0.7 seconds left. Jay Crowder alley-oops it to DeAndre Ayton for the dunk. A lot of people didn't know the rule. I don't know if you're familiar with the rule, but if it's a dead ball and you inbound it, the ball can be over the rim. So it's not a goaltending.
Yeah.
Clearly, the players didn't know that.
Yeah.
But it is not considered goaltending. And the Suns won it, hitting a 2-0 lead. Let's talk about that game first. What do you think about the overall performance by the Suns and Clippers without Kawhi Leonard and Chris Paul?
I think the Suns seem to be doing a better job of rallying around the whole team, whereas I feel like the Clippers are Paul George dependent. A little, or it seems that way at least. I think the Suns they're getting Cameron Payne involved a lot more, and he's stepping up.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton has been a monster in the playoffs. Last game he had 22 rebounds, 4 blocks. I mean, defensive monster, paint monster. I love to see it. And I think the Clippers are really struggling with that. I think they have Reggie Jackson, who's been consistently a good scorer and a clutch shooter and things like that. But the rest of their team is kind of struggling. Marcus Morris, not doing well. Patrick Beverley, not doing well. Zubats, getting boards, but getting like 10 to 15 points a game, that's not enough when you don't have Kawhi. Terrence Mann, he's okay. I mean, he had the Terrence Mann game, obviously, but I think he needs to be a little more consistent if they're gonna come back against this Suns team. Like, I don't know. I think the Suns are just more well-rounded.
Mm-hmm. I think campaign having, which I love the name. I don't think anyone's actually saying, but is the campaign.
Yeah.
I know, like that should just be his name moving forward. I mean, like phenomenal performance. I don't think we ever saw you play like this. I mean, this guy he played 2 months in China previously, and killed a high score for the team, 29 points, and going 50% overall, which is kind of unreal. I'm not sure if it was this game where Devin Booker got hit in the face. I think it was.
I think so.
I think Kevin Booker got hit in the face. I think he did break his nose because we saw him Game 3 wearing the mask.
Yeah.
And Game 4, took off the mask because he was like, I'm done with this. I can't play with this. Did not look cool. Out of all the players, did not look cool wearing a mask. Did not fit him. But I think overall, like you said, I think the teams are kind of balanced for the most part without their star players. Moving into Game 3, D-Book with the mask did not play well coming back to the Clippers. Coming back to LA, Clippers winning about 15 points, 106-91. Your boy, a lot of people are saying that there's, put some respect on Paul George's name. LP is back, he's here to stay. How do you feel about this? People are saying that he deserves to get that respect. Do you think he actually deserves it?
I mean, listen, as much as I shit on Paul George, he's been playing phenomenally in this entire playoff series. Like, from the start of the playoffs, he's been putting up crazy amounts of points, good rebounds, good assists. He's been stepping up, but at the end of the day, it's not enough. It's not enough without Kawhi, and we're seeing that Paul George can't lead a team through the playoffs. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, separates him from a lot of these great players, like a Giannis or something like that. I mean, Giannis has a little bit more tools at his disposal, I think, on the Bucks. But again, I think Paul George praisers are say, he deserves so much more respect. He's so good, blah, blah, blah. Well, if he was, he could do a lot more with this team, I think. I mean, he isn't. That's not a direct knock to him this time. I don't know. I think he is a good player, not a great top 10 player. And I think some people would pretend like he is.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, we saw Game 4. I think we saw Pandemic P come 5 for 20 in the field, 1 for 9 from 3. Horrendous performance. Basically free throws. It's a James Harden game. That's what we're basically getting from this.
Yeah.
You want to call him a star? We call him a star. I think all-star recognition. Most inconsistent all-star.
Yes.
I think he's not showing up in those senses. I mean, I know he has a defensive presence, but it's not enough to get them to win. This was a very low-scoring game, 84-80. Both sides, when I was watching it, the fourth quarter was horrendous. It was like 5 minutes without a score. And I think the teams finished 6 for 30, field goals together. Yeah, that's really bad. That's not good. But this is the return of CP. A little off, a little rusty to begin with, but he was making a lot of his clutch shots in the end. But both teams, I mean, think of the Suns team went 4 for 20. They only shot 23 pointers, which is unreal for the game. Making 4 of them. And you know what? Even better, the Clippers 5 for 31, 18%. This was just doggy dog, a lot of Pat Bev trash talk. He was really trying to get into Chris Paul's hand. Chris Paul was just oh, okay, cool. At the end of the day, we see that this Clippers team really couldn't show up. The weird thing is that Reggie Jackson is. Reggie Jackson able to show up and perform at this level consistently. Not being super old, 31 years old. Looking at Game 5, Kawhi Leonard will not play. He will be resting as well. This could be it. We're heading back to Phoenix. Are we wearing funeral colors, Kevin? Is we done?
I think.
Who we burying?
Playoff P.
Playoff P is dead. You heard it here, folks. Playoff P is dead.
I think with Chris Paul back in relatively full force now, I think there's no stopping the Suns. I think they smell blood, and they're going to come full force in this next game and just go for the kill. And I gotta give it to him. I think I especially did not give the Suns a lot of credit at the beginning of the season. You can go back to any of the episodes and see me roast them. And I'm eating my words right now. This team is awesome. DeAndre Ayton really showing up in this series. I'm so glad to see this side of him. And Chris Paul's a great leader. Devin Booker is clutch. Campaign is a great guy to step up to the plate when he needs to, but also knows his role. He knows he's kind of that bench guy, that sixth man. Yeah, I think this team is awesome, and I think they're going to come out tomorrow and roast the Clippers.
Roast and burn in the sun. So you're saying Suns in 5. We done here.
Suns in 5.
Suns in 5. Okay. We do have to acknowledge the note that you put, DeMarcus Cousins. We'll just leave it at that. Doesn't know the rules clearly, but DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins. I will also say Suns in 5. I want to say Suns in 4, basically. If it wasn't for that game, it would have been Suns in 4. And it would have been that guy who's at the Nuggets game going to fight. You know, it'll be a whole different thing. But yeah, I think we're done here. I'll be wearing all black tomorrow. You the same?
Yep.
Okay, bring some flowers. It's gonna be a tough time. With that, let's wrap up this episode. Should I do the honors, or do you want to do the honors?
I mean, that's
it too. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. I think we have one of those. Twitter. I also think we have one of those. I post some good memes on Instagram. So if you need some comedic, if you want to see some funny memes about basketball, come to our Instagram page. Listen to us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you listen to stuff. YouTube too, obviously. Yeah, thanks for listening to us shit talk about Paul George. So.
I also just like and subscribe. Yo, we got 1 subscriber the other day, and I felt really good.
Oh,
yeah.
Yo, shout out to 1 subscriber.
What's number 14 was? Yo, I'm telling you, better, greener pastures moving forward. With that, it's end the show. Kobe.